And that really changes the picture of how you think about your music career and your business. When you realize not only do I have a business as defined by these hard business metrics, but I can actually change the success and viability of that business just by doing things.
You are now listening to the Creative Juice podcast brought to you by IndiePRO.io.
What's up, Indies? Welcome back to Creative Juice. This is the podcast where we cover growing and monetizing your fan base and building a music career with marketing strategies that are working right now based on what we're seeing every day inside of our music marketing agency and across our community of thousands of artists and bands. I hope you enjoy and subscribe. This is episode 305, and I'm your host, Jack McCarthy. And with me today, as always, to talk about audience and fan base segmentation is my friend Circa. Cirque, what's up, dude?
What's up, man? Just kicking it.
I'm excited to be here, my friend. This is going to be a great episode. I want to kick this off by saying, when I talk to artists, when I talk to bands, and when I talk to managers and people in the music industry about digital marketing, one of the things that people get really excited about and want to talk to me about is segmenting and targeting their fans. Now, they might not say it just like that, but a lot of times people say to me like, oh yeah, man, it's so cool that we can get in the weeds and really know who our fans are and target them based on the ways that they're engaging with us and interacting with. But oftentimes that's about as far as it goes. And a lot of times in the music industry, we don't really know what it means when we talk about segmentation. So we wanted to come to the show today and talk about the audience segments that you need to be paying attention to, that you absolutely need to be thinking about when it comes to segmenting your fans, targeting them online, and engaging with them across your marketing tech and your marketing campaigns. Because we know a little bit about fan base segmentation. So we thought this would be fun to kind of do a deep dive into it for you guys today.
Yeah. It was a surprise to me to hear from Jack that that's what people call out. You know, there's always a flavor of the month or of the year that people are relegating all digital marketing value to. So there was like a time at which like people would talk about like retarget, like that's the age old one. People are like, oh yeah, you can retarget.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do that.
Among many other things, you can retarget. Yes. Among many other things, you can segment your audiences. 100%. What you can do with those segments is really where it gets interesting. And we're going to talk about some of that today. But this is really like a hot button that comes up a lot when I talk about digital marketing to artists and their teams, especially like managers and stuff like that. Like they love the idea of being able to get into the data.
They love the idea of it.
Yeah. Why don't we talk about what it actually means to get into the data and what you should be paying attention to versus what you shouldn't? Because you can go way overboard when it comes to segmentation and still miss the mark, right? Or you can just do a few really simple, really strategic things and do a great job and really make a big dent in your goals just by hitting the right fans at the right time with the right offer. And that's kind of what it's all about.
100%. Yeah.
So let's dive right into it. Cirque, you want to kick us off with the biggest picture of segmentation here, which I think is kind of like the easiest low-hanging fruit for anyone to think about?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So segmentation can be very powerful. For those of you that need a definition, segmentation is and it's sort of a crux of kind of the value prop that we put forward for digital marketing in general in the music industry, which is most of the music industry talks to everyone the same. What I mean by that is let's say you got a famous artist on TikTok or Instagram. They have a blowing up lit. Oh, it's litty. They've got all the Riz.
Wow, dude, you put a lot of buzzwords into that sentence.
Dude, they're Ohio, and that's by definition. So they're doing really well. What the major inefficiency of that type of artist or any artist in the music industry is usually that they talk to everyone the same. So every time that they put a message out to their fans, the message is the same regardless of what the fan is like. So if the fan's like their biggest fan, been to every show, bought every album, purchased everything, they're being talked to the same as someone who just like followed them on Instagram. There's no differentiation in the message. And the thing that enables that is segmentation. If you can segment your audience and send a different message to people who are different categorically, then you can differentiate your messaging. What that allows you to do is, it'd be very weird if you talk to your best friend the same way you talk to the receptionist at your doctor's office. That'd be weird. If you could only be monotone in your messaging, if you could only talk to people the exact same way, then like you wouldn't have best friends because there's no difference, you know? So that's why it's crucial to have differentiated messaging. That's why it's crucial to have segmentation. But you can really go overboard with this. Most people go underboard, but that doesn't mean that the risk of going overboard is not there. And so what I would say is that like the crucial thing, if we could just get every artist in the world to do this one thing, like we have one thing we can get them to do that will cause the most impact in a digital marketing perspective. I would say a top candidate for the number one thing I would have people do is just go to everywhere you have customer data and export it. And then just names and emails. I don't care about any of the other data, just names and emails. If they've bought something, their name and their email should go on an aggregated list. So you got your Shopify, your ticketing, your in-person, anywhere people have bought from you, download the data and just put all those names and emails in one list, upload that list to your email or text list, and then create a segment there that's customers. And if you could just do that, it unlocks so much. One, you can now split out anytime you offer something. So anytime you got a new album, anytime you got a tour coming up, anything, you can now say, I'm going to have a higher tier offer for the people who are already customers, and I'm going to have an entry level offer for the people who are not customers. And I'm going to talk to them different. And if I ever send out free goodies, I'm going to consider the difference between the two and reward those who are in my ecosystem supporting my music career. If you could just do that, it would be a game changer for you. Now, that's presuming you already have an email list, which a lot of artists like don't, or they don't have control over it, or they don't even care about it or know that it exists. And in that case, like that's a problem. But if you could just do this one thing, I think it would make a whole world of difference. The next thing that you would do segmentation wise is to just start splitting out customers by meaning. So you would say, okay, they purchased something entry level. They're like their lifetime value, the lifetime value of what they've purchased from me is under, let's say, $50. That would be one segment. And then over $50 is another segment. That's like the next layer of complexity I would add to it. But the thing is that so many artists, that's like almost a useless exercise because we're talking about like you have a 100-person customer list and 20 of them are like above $50. Okay, great. That doesn't help a whole lot. Right? Like you could just send to the whole 100 cohort. Like it doesn't, you're not going to eke out a career changing difference, right? We're not going to make any waves. We're not going to change your trajectory by making this additional segment. Customers and non-customers is fine. So for a lot of artists, just segmenting customers and non-customers is great, but doing more than that might be like counterproductive or superfluous.
For sure. Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up because let's say you are in a more advanced stage, right? Let's say you've got thousands of customers, like a lot of artists that we work with at the agency. What are some of the things that we kind of immediately recommend? I wanted to lay those out because it's easy, again, to get tripped up here and overdo it or overthink it. The place that I would start to look into isn't necessarily even about customer value, you know, the difference between a $50 customer versus a $100 customer and so on and so forth. Like you can split that in so many different segments that even, and especially with a big customer list, it starts to get a bit too in the weeds and a bit less actually actionable. And so what I would recommend is split it by first-time customers. And a lot of times you'll have a lot of them, people who have only bought from you once, repeat customers, people who have bought from you more than once. And then you can split those up by how much they've spent or how many times they've spent. Someone who's bought from you twice versus someone who's bought from you 10 times. That's kind of interesting. You might want to consider what the averages are. What's the average repeat customer? Find the average. That might represent, you know, a bigger net of people that you can go after when you're looking at repeat customers. But first-time customers, repeat customers at bare minimum. And then I would actually look towards who are your highest LTV people, which is lifetime value. Who are the people that have spent the most amount of money with you? Maybe set a threshold of, can I find out if I have customers that have spent more than $200, let's say? Maybe you find that to be the average of your customers. How many people have spent that much or more? And what these segments allow you to do in this kind of more advanced stage is, for first-time customers, what does that mean? It means that they're ripe for another offer to get them beyond just buying from you once. And so you can focus your sales efforts, your automation efforts on that process. Your repeat customers, like you mentioned, Cirque, you can focus those people on making them a higher tier offer, maybe something a little bit more expensive, maybe a bundle, maybe a VIP package for your upcoming tour. You can focus them on that. And the same goes with your high LTV segment. These are the people who maybe you could offer them something really expensive. I don't know. The offer is kind of anything you could dream up depending on who you are as an artist and what you might want to be doing. But think about things like a house concert that might cost a lot of money. Like, those high LTV customers are going to be the people that are the most likely to raise their hand for something like that because they spend a lot of money with you.
I think it's also the case that you're in digital marketing long enough and you start to understand, oh, okay, like you get into it and you hear a lot of people talking about leads. And leads seem like they're more appropriate for like, oh, I'm selling something, like I'm a salesperson. And you kind of don't know how leads are relevant to your business, especially if you're in music. It's, what do you mean leads? Like, I need fans, right?
Yeah.
But then you start to understand like, well, leads, we could abstract that to like potential buyers. And everyone who's aware of me is in varying like intensities of being a lead, meaning if they're a big fan and they haven't bought anything yet, that's the hottest lead I can get. I mean, if they have bought something, maybe that's hotter, I guess, right?
But again, this is the difference between customers and subscribers.
Right. The thing that doing this initial, like this one segmentation we told you to do, it gives you a thing to measure and track and improve. You have a list of people who've never bought from you, but they went so far as to sign up for your email list or become contactable one-to-one by some means. Okay, all of those people should either come support your music career or decide, hey, I'm not here to support your music career, and like kind of get off your list. Not to be harsh, but you know, like you're running a music career and the people who are not supporting it are to a degree freeloaders. And I don't mean to be like, you know, like harsh capitalists or anything like that. I just mean to say that it is the case that you don't have a whole lot of resources probably as a musician, and they are a drain on your resources to a degree. You're paying attention to them and you don't have unlimited attention.
Even if you do have a lot of resources, get them off your list.
Yeah.
It's waste.
I just know that if I say something like that, there's artists out there who will be like, that's not the spirit of this, or that's not what I'm doing it for. And it's like, cool, man, like totally get it. I'm just saying that like given enough time and enough of your audience being that person, you will run out of the ability to even do anything.
For sure. Yeah.
So we can think of the people who aren't customers yet as people who might support your music career, but haven't yet. And now you have something you can focus on. Your goal is to convert all of them over to the customer side. That's it. And then your customers, it's to ascend LTV. Whereas before you just had this like large contactable list, you didn't know how to talk to them differently. You didn't know how to eke out more performance from having that list. You didn't know how to raise your revenue. When you do that segmentation, now you have a very defined like task list, right? You have a thing to do, a purpose when it comes to your digital marketing and business side of things. And so that's really the value it provides, is that now you can focus in on, oh, every time I release something or do a sale or create a product, I'm trying to convert these people over to this side of the segmentation, and I'm trying to raise the LTV of that side. LTV being lifetime value. So that's way different. It's a way different mindset to actually have that staring you in the face. And you know how many people aren't customers, and you know that they're just like kind of sitting there waiting for an offer, and it incentivizes you to create offers, to do things, to make a change there. It's a way different scenario.
It's true. When the numbers are just staring you in the face, it does kind of force you to act, you know?
100%.
I'm glad you brought up subscribers, and I'm actually glad that we're kind of doing this in reverse from we're starting at customers. Now we're going down to subscribers. Then we can talk about audiences in general. I think when it comes to subscribers, once you get beyond the I have this big amorphous list or the small amorphous list, big is relative, size is relative really here. Once you get beyond that and we're talking customers and subscribers, you might be wondering like, okay, well, what do I do with the people? What can I learn about the people who haven't bought from me yet? And I think there's three things, and these kind of apply to all kinds of artists. Is like, number one, the segment that you might consider when it comes to subscribers is like, why did they sign up in the first place? What do I know about them? So it's like my email list subscribers or my text list subscribers signed up here. It might be your website. It might have been for a pre-save campaign or something like that. It might have been for updates about a tour. It could be anything. It could be a specific lead magnet or a bribe that you put together for them, maybe for like early access to your music. What did they sign up for? And if you know that, then everything that you send to them can then messaging wise be related back to the reason that they sign up and drive them towards the next action that you want them to take, which might be purchasing on your store, which might be buying a ticket. It could be a lot of different things, but that's a really easy segment to think about because in a lot of cases, and especially at the earlier stages of building a fan base, there might have only been one reason that they signed up. So you can start to think about, okay, I know why people are signing up for the most part, and I can recognize that when I talk to them. And then I can drive them towards the next thing that's related to why they signed up. So that's like point number one. Point number two, and this applies especially to artists who might have lists that came from a whole bunch of different places and they're, aged. Maybe there are people that have signed up that might not even remember that they signed up because you haven't hit them up in a long time. What you might want to consider is segmenting by 90-day activity, 180-day activity, year-long activity. And by activity, I mean, how long has it been since they last opened and clicked an email? And if you can think about those kinds of things, that allows you to decide who are the warmest people in this subset of people on my list. Not customers, subscribers. Who's warm? How can I get them warmed back up, get them opening, get them clicking? What can I do to make that happen? Or can I just remove them from my list altogether? These are the kind of things that I think about.
Yeah. Yeah. Literally, you could spend years on just that set of goals, well, without really complicating the segmentation picture, right? You could just with that basic cursory level of segmentation, like your next goal would be like, well, let's try to make a difference here. Let's test out if I do a campaign and I have two different offers, what happens to the non-customers? Does it get smaller? What happens to the existing customers? Do they get more valuable on average in terms of like total transaction volume they've done with my business? And you can test that out. And then you can see, okay, well, I'm actually able to make a change here. I have power with these hands. I create fire.
Right.
And that really changes the picture of how you think about your music career and your business. When you realize not only do I have a business as defined by these hard business metrics, but I can actually change the success and viability of that business just by doing things.
Dude, yeah. Any of these that we've talked about so far, when you have them broken out this way, whether you break out just customers and subscribers, or you break out all of these different segments that we've talked about so far, one of the coolest things about them is if you have something high priority going on in your business right now, maybe it's a launch, right? Maybe it's a pre-order that you're wanting to launch and you want to get some immediate wins from it. You want to get some immediate sales. Well, what are you going to do? You're going to look at your segments and you're going to say, the first people that I want to reach out to about this are these people, the ones that are most likely to take the action and most likely to take it fast. And I want them to know about it first. And I want them to know that they're knowing about it first. And I want them to know that they matter so that they take action.
Because it's fair. Like, it's fairer for the people who's like actually like proactively supported your music career to be advantaged in that way.
Definitely. Yeah. And I think that's what's really powerful about this is it allows you to like actively drive movement that actually matters, that matters to your bottom line. So super important.
Yeah.
We started the episode with you mentioning retargeting, which was funny because we're kind of now down outside of your list and we can talk a little bit about like just audiences in general, your fans in general online hanging out with you. Retargeting and segmentation, as far as it comes to social media, is still definitely something that has like mysticism around it a little bit, you know? Oh, I would love to be able to perfectly retarget my fans exactly the way I want them to, that they see the right thing a certain number of times only, and it's perfect and it's absolutely flawless. And that doesn't exist. But what does exist, and what I wanted to talk about today, is you've got people in your audiences online, on Instagram, on Facebook, everywhere, across all of your socials, that have engaged with you in some way, shape, or form recently. And you, in most platforms, have the ability to retarget those people, which is great. Currently, as a lot of the advertising platforms exist, when you advertise to a cold audience, which is the biggest subset of people that you can find, Meta, for example, will typically find your warm audiences within your cold audience first, and they'll go after and serve your ads to those people, which is great because it gives the platform a lot of opportunity to find your people within a bigger subset of people. There's plenty of data to work with, so it's the most efficient kinds of advertising. What does that mean in like super simple terms? It's that like retargeting happens whether you want it to or not, right? But what I wanted to bring was a bit of a counter narrative today to say, like, when it comes to fan segmentation, if you went viral a month ago, right, and you have a lot of fans now that are in your world and they just engaged with you for the first time a month ago, and you want to make sure that they see the next things that you're doing, then you probably do want to retarget them specifically. And you might want to set a retargeting audience that's people that engaged with me in the last 30 days or 90 days or 6 months. You probably do want to do that and force the machine to bend to your will to say, I know that I went viral recently, and I want to make sure that the people that were engaging with me then are going to see this, and they're going to see it a lot. And is that efficient as far as advertising goes? No, it's not. Does it work? Yes, it definitely does.
Yeah, just to say that, like, there are other things you'll want to do. Like, we laid down like a very cursory segmentation like effort you could make. I wouldn't go too far beyond that, but it is the case that, like, once you're there and you see the results you can generate, then there's things like, okay, well, let's connect all of my sources of data where I sell stuff to this list, so that automatically I see the difference in customers versus non-customers, and I don't have to like download any data and then upload it to my email or text lists. It just happens automatically. And then once you're doing that, you're in a space to start doing more complex segmentation. Not that you should right away, but just to say that this can be progressive complexity. You can just do this very simple thing of spending an hour to go to all your places where you sell stuff, download your customer lists, put them all into one list, and then upload it to your email list. And that sets the ball rolling. And it's very not complex. Like, you can figure it out. And then it can get more complex as it proves to you it's a worthy activity, you know?
Yeah.
So you don't have to like go overboard right away. Just like do that one thing and then see if you can make a change in those numbers. And then if you can, then it's like, well, now you really actually want to do the more complex things, you know?
Definitely. Yeah, you're totally right. It's a matter of get the quick wins out of the way for yourself. Make it easy for yourself to get some quick wins. And this applies regardless of fan base size, really. If you've got some people on a list, you can do these things. If you've had some customers, you can do these things. The depth at which you go depends as your audience size grows. And that's cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope that this demystified fan base segmentation for you guys a little bit. This is definitely, again, a topic that comes up really often and I think is exciting for a lot of people, especially as they dip their toes into digital marketing or they're starting to grow and they see like, oh, there's opportunity here in this fan base, but I don't really know what it is. And I know that I need to segment these people so that I can find it. It's kind of like digging for treasure. So I hope that this kind of demystifies the way that we look at it from like day one when we're working with an artist. These are some of the segments that we pay attention to. Is we look to break out customers, we break out first time and repeat customers. We start to look at LTV. We look at subscribers and where they're coming from and how active they are. And then we look at social media audiences and what we can do with them based on what an artist has been doing recently. Those are easy segments that anyone can think about and put into your music business literally today.
Yep. I would say, like, this is something worth doing. It's not that hard. It could take an hour. Go do it.
Yeah, go do it. We'll see you guys next time on Creative Juice. Peace out, Indies. Go segment those fans.
Can y'all really feel the East Coast?